Now let's move on. And Kenya is set to host a tripartite meeting with Somalia and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees to assess the agreement signed last year over the repatriation of refugees. Deputy President William Ruto has all along maintained that the government is not backing down on this move amidst condemnation that this would be a breach of international conventions. Some experts say that this is a good move in the war against terror in the country. Sharon Momanyi has the details.
The directive by Deputy President William Ruto to have the UNHCR repatriate all the refugees in the Dabaab camps within 3 months is one that has received heavy reactions. In a statement, the UNHCR urged the government to reconsider this stand, stating that large-scale returns are still not possible in many parts of Somalia. The institution said in the statement that, and I quote, "The UNHCR is concerned that abruptly closing the Dabaab camps and forcing refugees back to Somalia would have extreme humanitarian and practical consequences and would be a breach of Kenya's international obligations." End of quote.
It is an ideological thing. It's not something that you can fix to space and say that Karachi is taking in this space, therefore we clear everyone from this space and do away with radicalization. This is ideological war. It's a security threat that is ideological. By removing the refugees does not mean that we shall be safe.
It will be known, for example, that there are parts of the Dabaab refugee camp that police cannot access completely, like the streets of Paris that we were told is a no police area. What is this part of our country that police cannot access? That is certainly an effect on security, and I think, yes, this will change our security.
The views among Kenyan opinion leaders are divided. In November last year, Kenya, Somalia and the UNHCR signed a joint deal to back the voluntary repatriation of Somalis. This agreement came hot in the heels of the Westgate attack, with the Dabaab camps said to be a breeding ground for terrorists. But following the recent Garissa attack that saw 147 people killed, Deputy President Ruto ordered that the Dabaab camp should be closed within 3 months.
A refugee camp almost has the status of an embassy, and UNHCR controls it. UNHCR is unarmed, and they cannot, get these extremists from their midst. It takes government power and government security muscle to go in there. They will not let us go in there. Intel shows that they are in there. When we try to get them, they attack in Westgate, for example. It came part of the executors of that plan did it from Kakuma. I think it's time we think of this country as our country and decide you came from Somalia, you will go back to Somalia.
Dr. Richard Bosire, a professor of political science and international relations, warns that this move would isolate Kenya in the war on terror.
We can do the screening and appear also in the international community, who should also help us in dealing with this monster of terrorism, that we are doing it in the right way and we have goodwill from international community. We cannot do it alone.
Every country has lost favor with the international community. The United States has lost favor. Russia has lost favor. China has lost favor. What is this favor thing that we are afraid of losing? Someone alleged that you lose 10 billion. Look, 147 souls dead 6 feet under is one too many Kenyans. Anything we can do to make sure another Kenyan is not killed by a terrorist, we should do it without caring about some international obligation that we have.
The three parties, Kenya, Somalia and the UNHCR, are set to have a meeting on the matter. As it stands, the decision to close down the camp is yet to be cast in stone. This debate boils down to the safety of the refugees in the Dabaab camps versus the safety of the entire Kenyan population. Also, the commitment of the Kenyan government to its humanitarian obligation versus its duty to protect the Kenyan citizens. A very delicate balance there, one that can perhaps only be tested by the effect that closing down these camps would have on the war against terror in the country. Sharon Momanyi, KTN, Nairobi.